Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to my box office recaps. So, the fall season is done. It's over, finished. Won't have to talk about it again until next year. So, last month I did September. So, what do I do this month? Well, October, of course, the spooky month. While this October was relatively stronger than most Octobers, but the reason why that is because of one movie and one movie only, and I'm pretty sure you can already guess what that movie is. It's right on the screen. And trust me, we're going to talk about this movie quite a bit because it's the only thing worth talking about. But before we go over the whole month, I have to talk about something. See, in my past recaps, I used to use Box Office Mojo to do them. They had on that site, they had a thing where you just go to monthly and just has a list of all the movies, in terms of gross, like the highest to lowest. And it was a pretty easy thing to do. And I used to do it all the time. But now because not Watch Mojo. Why am I saying Watch Mojo? Box Office Mojo is dead to me after what they did to the site. I'm now using the numbers. And what the numbers does that I like is at the first of each month, they do a preview. And what that means is they go through all the major releases of the month and they give their thoughts and predictions on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the actual box office of these movies to not just my predictions, but the site's predictions too, which is going to be real fun. So let's get right to it. So first up, the big one, the big hit, Joker, the movie that single-handedly saved October. I mean, what more can I say about this movie that hasn't been said already? It's one of the biggest success stories, not just of 2019, but of the whole freaking decade. It's crazy. And see right here, they predicted it would make 225 million domestic. I was a bit higher at around 250. I thought that was reasonable, but nope. This movie shot past that. It's now past 300 million. And it's about to reach $1 billion worldwide, which is very important because, one, it will be the first R-rated movie in history to make $1 billion. And even now, it's still the biggest R-rated movie of all time worldwide. It beat the Deadpool movies, which I did not expect. But it'll also be, well, I think you've already seen this in the news too. It will be the most profitable comic book movie ever. Heck, it's more profitable than Infinity War. Yeah, this small little movie cost $55 million is more profitable than Infinity War. Think about that. It's crazy. It's insane. And 2019 desperately needed one of these movies to hit because, let's be real, 2019's been a pretty dismal year. I mean, there were some surprise hits here and there, but for the most part, a lot of movies have just either underwhelmed or flat out bombed. And, the holiday season right now is looking quite bleak, with the exception of a few movies. So, it's good for not just Hollywood, but especially Warner Brothers desperately needed a victory like this, because their year has been going pretty terrible. And I've covered that plenty of times in past videos, how bad their year has been. And, with Dr. Sleep bombing, it's not getting any better. But at least they have this. This is their one saving grace this whole year. And for this movie's future, it might get some awards nominations. It might get a sequel. Some people might be against the sequel because it kind of just ruins the movie. I mean, I wouldn't mind, especially, but only if Todd Phillips comes back to do it, right? And only if they do something interesting. As long as the movie, they actually treat the sequel with respect and it's not just a blatant cash grab, I'm all for it. And I'm also all for Joaquin Phoenix Joker going up against Robert Pattinson's Batman. That would be really interesting. But I don't know if they're going to go that far. And then there's also the whole controversy about this movie that also fueled it, I think. People saying, oh, this is going to cause violence. It's going to cause mass shootings. It's going to cause this and that and that. I'm like, Well, no, first of all, none of that happened. Second of all, more people have fought over a Popeye's chicken sandwich than this movie, which should tell you a lot. So, yeah, everything went well for this movie. And by everything, I mean everything. So, yeah, that's Joker. And it was the only movie that came out that weekend. So, what's next? Adam's Family. They predicted it'll make 85 million. I was a lot smaller. I forget exactly. I think I said like 50 to 60 million. I didn't think this movie would make that much money. I was just like, do people really care about the Addams Family in 2019? Because first of all, the two other Addams Family movies, they were in the early 90s. So I don't know how many kids are going to be interested in this. And then they had like these really cringy posters that had like modern day slang. It was bad. But to my shock and surprise, it made money. So far, it's not on here, but it's made about 91 million domestic, which is something, which is way bigger than what I thought. Heck, it made way more money than Abominable, which many would consider the better film. So that's surprising. And yeah, good job, Addams Family. You managed to stay relevant. So yay. It might make 100 million, maybe not. Who knows, but still a decent victory. It's not a huge victory, but it's still solid. And now for the biggest bomb of the month, without a doubt, Gemini Man. Wow. This movie did horrendous. Truly horrendous. They thought it would make 80 million domestic, which I thought was just ridiculously high. I think my prediction, I said 50 to 60 million. It didn't even reach that. And I thought that was low. It couldn't even reach After Earth numbers. Instead, it made less than 50 million, which is truly horrific for a movie that cost around $135 million. And overseas didn't save it at all. So this is easily one of the biggest bombs of the year. In line with other films like Dark Phoenix, Men in Black International, Terminator Dark Fate. And you do not want to be in that group. You really don't. And, for Will Smith, he still has fans, but this is not a good look for him. The 2010s has been a really rough decade for him. With this, After Earth, I'm trying to think what else. Collateral Beauty, stuff like that. It's been a terrible decade. At least he has Aladdin, though. So he better hope they make a sequel to that movie. Because otherwise, he's in trouble. And Jexy. Does anyone even remember this movie? I barely remember it. I remember all the ads it had, but that's about it. They thought it would make 25 million. When I did my video on Jexy, I already knew the early numbers. And I was just like, well, this movie's going to tank, less than 10 million. And it did indeed make less than 10 million. Made, I don't even know, I forgot. Let me look. 6 million. Wow, I thought it was 7. It only got to 6. That's, wow. Yeah, not much to say. This was supposed to be from CBS Films. This was their last movie before they shuttered. And so they kind of just dumped this out with no real advertising effort. Got bad reviews, bad everything, and it died. And we will no longer talk about it. So that's Jexy. Next up, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Okay. Now, I thought this movie would do a tad bit better because, Disney has been just dominating 2019 easily. Sure, they had Dumbo, but besides that, every other movie they've had has been a huge hit. So I thought this would do a bit better, but it didn't. They thought it would make 155 million total domestic. I think in my prediction, I was a bit lower than that, 110 something. But, when I saw early numbers. But, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's because they just, for Disney, I think making sequels to their live-action remakes is just a terrible idea. I mean, I mean, after this, and especially Alice Through the Looking Glass from like 3 years ago, they should stop making sequels because it doesn't go well. But unlike Alice Through the Looking Glass, this one will barely survive at the box office because it will make over 100 million domestic. It'll at least do that, and it's doing pretty decent overseas. Not as strong as the first one, but enough to not be considered a failure. And plus, you got Disney Plus on the way, so if they just put it on there, then it's just easy money. So yeah, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, not a flop, but not a hit either. It's in the middle ground. Next up, Zombieland Double Tap. Again, I thought this movie would do a bit better. And, it did. I mean, it didn't do terrible, but I thought it would just do a tad bit better. They thought it would make 80 million domestic. I think I was around the same range, if I recall. And it's only up to, like, close to 70 million, like 66 million right now. Which, again, it's not bad. It's way better than a lot of sequels this year. I'll tell you that. But, considering how much, people loved the first Zombieland, the first Zombieland was such a cult classic, and it was so good, I thought, the sequel will do just about as well as that. Because, all the actors, they have more cred to their names, especially Emma Stone. But it just didn't really play out, so that's a shame. But at least they made more money than Dark Phoenix, and likely more money than Terminator Dark Fate. So it has that going for it. I'm talking domestic, not foreign, but still. And finally, the last weekend of October, it was slow. Even one of my videos, I said this is a really slow weekend. And it was. It was quite terrible. Starting with Black and Blue. They thought it would make 35 million. I was a bit lower, I think. I don't even remember making that video. I think it was in the 20 million range. It'll reach that, but that's still not good, right? And I think in my original video, I was just like, dirty cop movies, they don't have a great reputation box office wise unless they star Denzel Washington or Leonardo DiCaprio. If it doesn't have them, the genre's a bust. And it happened here too. And the fact they just didn't put a whole lot of effort into advertising too really hurt the movie. And yeah, it came out, it went, and no one's talking about it anymore, and it's just gonna be lost in history. So, yeah, that's Black and Blue. Next up, Countdown. They thought it would make 35 million. I thought it was a bit lower, but again in the 20 million range. But it's actually doing a tiny bit better than I thought. Because it had a somewhat meh opening weekend. But for some strange reason, it's had quite strong holds. Like its second weekend was like 36%, which is like nuts for horror. So while it won't reach that 35, but because it's so cheap, it will make a profit at least. It will reach like 25 to 30 million, which, for a movie that costs like 6.5, that's not bad at all. It'll make a tiny bit profit. So, at least there's that. And finally, The Current War. No one saw this movie. I didn't see this movie. You didn't see this movie. No one saw this movie. They thought it would make 15 million. I was much lower with that. I think I said less than 10 million, like 5 to 10 million. And that's exactly what it did. Made like $6-ish million. And I'm not surprised. This movie was like filmed like 2 years ago. It was supposed to be released by the Weinstein Company. And we all know what happened to them. And, so the movie was just like in the can for like 2 years. The original director like did a re-edited version of the movie. So, like, in some of the ads you saw, if you saw them, they had, like, director's cut on them. That's why. And the movie had no fanfare, and it just died. That's all I could say. It died. That's it. That's the whole story behind the current war. So yeah, that's it for October. It was quite the exception of Joker, it was quite the underwhelming month. I mean, Adam's Family did okay. Maleficent wasn't a complete loss. Zombieland 2 did fine. Countdown did fine. But overall, it was a real weak month, with the exception of course, Joker. And November, right now, I'm looking at the November numbers. It is bleak, like super bleak. It is horrible. Movies are bombing left and right. It's not good. So, can't wait to talk about November when, that month is over. So, yeah, that's my October 2019 box office recap. Hope you enjoyed it. Which one of these movies have you seen? I'm pretty sure you're all going to be like Joker, because of course you are. and yeah, so make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. Want to go check out my other box office recaps. I've done May, June, July, August, September. I've done summer. 3 parts to that video. And I've done all the predictions for all these movies. Well, except like limited releases, because it's kind of hard to predict those. So you're not going to see like Jojo Rabbit or The Lighthouse or Parasite, because it's quite impossible to predict those movies. So that's why I just don't do them. I only do wide releases, when they initially come out. So, yeah, you can check out all the predictions for both this and September and my fall 2019 predictions playlist. And yeah, that is all. That's it. And I am out.